Theory Crafting Thursday. I, of course, am Ursinity, and I am here, somewhat sitting with across the country, from Proud, my co-host. Hello, Proud.
Hello, what's up, everybody?
We are, of course, everyone's favorite podcast, and today we're going to be reviewing every single Westworld podcast, all 35 of them, and choosing which one we like most. Proud, right? You're watching Westworld.
I have watched The World of the West.
It is probably my...
What? Sis, no, come on.
It's probably my favorite show named Westworld. I'll say that much.
What did you think about Westworld, though? I feel like that was a pretty good contender.
It was close, but they definitely got second place compared to Westworld. So, my favorite Westworld podcast has got to be Bald Move. Joanna Robinson's Westworld podcast called Decoding Westworld was a close second, but I'm a Bald Move loyalist, so, it is what it is. That's our podcast segment for today. We'll be going deeper in after we start with our classic early segment where we talk about Dota for, maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
I bought new underwear on Saturday.
That's exciting. He's spoiling next week. We were actually going to be an underwear podcast, but I suppose that's exciting for this week as a teaser to next week.
And socks.
Socks too. That's like the brother, or it's like the sibling, maybe it's a sister, who knows, a sibling of underwear, of course. All right,
socks are male.
Okay, I don't like you gendering my socks, buddy.
I'm just letting you know that socks are a male object.
I imagine one would be male and one would be female, so like maybe the left is female and the right is male. They're twins.
It's this binary shit, man.
Yeah, that's true. And that,
you don't have to just, socks are male. You can just move on.
All right, I'm definitely going to move on. That is the best suggestion you've ever given me. So on that note, let's talk about our week in Dota, shall we? How's your week been, Proud?
It's been okay. I've been playing, still no solo, just playing these, fun old party games, winning my lone druid. Wraith King is fucking awful.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, dude, the hero is so bad. I won a Dragon Knight game. That was fun. I was forced into offlane Dragon Knight. That was hilarious and terrible.
I've played against that. It is not very good, but it's not the worst.
Yeah, well, if you say so.
Iron Talon's a good item, my friend. And when you have 19 armor at level 3, it's hard to harass.
Yeah. Yes, it's Juggernaut. It's whatever. Lone Druid with the Deso. Still my favorite thing in the world. I feel like Arc Warden is kind of weak now. Like, he was definitely super good, but now I don't really think he's that good.
I'm on the fence because it's always hard to say anything about a hero I see so infrequently, because I can't tell if I think the hero is OP because every once in a while when I do see it, it's played by somebody that's really good at it, or vice versa, where every once in a while I see it from somebody that's just learning it, and I see it so infrequently that it's I don't know, it's a crapshoot, and I sure don't play it.
There's just very specific situations where he looks imbalanced as fuck, and then in the majority of situations, you're just completely fucking impotent. Impotent.
There are definitely a lot of heroes like that, where kind of like Morphling to an extent, or Slark, where when you lose to them, they feel super overpowered, and when you beat them, it's oh wow, what a garbage hero.
Yeah.
Those are definitely standouts.
Yeah, if a Sven blinks on me and I'm Arc Warden, I'm that's it. I'm dead forever.
Yeah. You brought up the Wraith King game. That was a team game. But actually, when we were talking about that game, there were the reasoning for why Wraith King sucks so much is somewhat obvious, but how we got into it was really eye-opening, I guess, for Wraith King core. And I know that's I know a lot of people that are listeners and members of the community love Wraith King, yourself included. So I think we should actually talk about that just a little bit.
Okay.
So in the game, not only, let me actually find the exact game. I believe that I think I found it too. Let's see. Yep, I found it. God bless. It's my only loss in my last 7 games. So we actually last picked the Wraith King. And in general, right, Wraith King is one of those heroes, kind of like a Meepo, where it's all right, we want to pick him super late. And this is where it was a learning experience for me, and it kind of put into perspective just how bad Wraith King is as a hero, because even though we 5th picked him, the enemy team, their first 4 heroes were pretty bad. Faceless Void is like, whatever. I guess you could say he's okay against Wraith King, but
he's bad, honestly. Like, anytime you get, like, once you get the diffusal up, like, my mana is big enough that losing, like, 40 mana, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But that being said, other than Faceless Void, who you could make an argument for if that, and I would agree with Proud that it's not really a counter, but I guess situationally, if, like, you're behind and he's ahead.
No. Okay, like, I'm going to stop you. Like, Wraith King, like, is a counter to Faceless Void. Like,
yeah, that's
the traditional spear, and then he's fine. Yeah, like, Faceless Void is not their best hero against, Wraith King that they had, before their last pick.
Would you say Luna was
one of the reasons why I picked Wraith King is because they had Faceless.
Oh yeah, I mean that was the reason for me. Anyway, let's say the Faceless Void is not a counter. So their first 4 heroes are Faceless Void, Elder Titan, Luna, CM, not in that order, but with those 4 heroes. And Wraith King was looking pretty good for our team. We had Warlock, Beastmaster, Invoker, Treant. And we were thinking, what are our options? Last pick, they banned Sven, which was what we wanted to pick. This was we were trying out an NP draft, and we were like, oh well, they only have 1 pick left, and like they've already revealed their mid and their offlaner and both their supports, and like I picked Invoker.
Not their mid, their safe lane.
Yeah, sorry, their safe lane.
Like, they can't pick AM, they can't pick like Nick's offlane or whatever, and we had Invokers, so we weren't afraid of an EMP, and we were like, all right, and OD was banned. Like, This seems pretty decent.
Yeah, and so, we were like, oh, let's try it. Like, Proud likes Wraith King. We've had success with Wraith King historically. So we 5th pick Wraith King, and then they 5th pick PL mid. And PL mid is classically a counter to Invoker, and still definitely feels that way. It was actually just like, even with tree armor, it was such a like miserable lane that it wasn't like an unplayable lane by any means, but it was like one of those lanes where like you're just on your back foot the entire time. Yeah. And so not only was he good against Invoker in lane, but he also just absolutely wrecks Wraith King. And this gets to what in a roundabout way we're getting to, is that Wraith King, like, you can't even fifth pick the hero anymore. Like, there's just so many counters to this poor guy.
Yeah. And he's not like a Meepo where it's like, unless you get the counters, he's fucking balls out crazy broken. It's like, even if they didn't pick a PL, I still would have just been shit.
Yeah. It definitely is not the hero that he once was, nor continues to be. What if Wraith King Ags made it so not only the current effect that it has with all the specters or whatever, or the ghosts, whatever they're called, but it made it so that his ult never takes mana. Like, you can do it at any point. Like, you just always have ult. Do you think?
But I mean, like, the issue with that game really wasn't the fact that I didn't have mana. Like, the PL counter to me was the fact that I just couldn't do anything to the AoE illusions. Like, my mana was almost never an issue that entire game. It was just like, I can't deal with PL illusions, man. It's too much.
Yeah, and they have 3 Manta heroes. It was not a fun game.
No, it was not.
Illusion gaming is still alive and well. But yeah, so that was pretty eye-opening to me, as like, man, Wraith King, like, I thought the hero was like mediocre, like underpowered to mediocre, and then like we were talking about it after the game, and it was like, how do you pick this hero when it's like even 5th pick, like they can pick like 800, like 8 different heroes that all counter you in like a variety of different positions. It's just like, you're just screwed.
No, so Wraith King's a bad hero.
So that was rough. But anyway, my week in Dota has been a lot like the last few weeks, honestly. It's just been me practicing mid. I talked about this on the Wednesday show, but I've been playing a lot of Juggernaut mid. Not a lot of Juggernaut mid, but I played a couple games during practice, and that was a lot of fun, and I plan to be playing a lot of that going forward. More Mirana mid, and let's see. Oh yeah, okay. So a couple TA games. I've been practicing TA. I used to play a ton of TA, and now that I'm back to being a mid player, I've been practicing a bit of that. That's been super fun. TA, honestly, like Hurricane Pike TA is so fun. It's like, I don't want to say it's the most fun I have in Dota, but it's up there right now.
Yeah.
Like Blightstone early game, but like the build up for Hurricane Pike is so great for TA, and it makes it so historically what would happen on TA was when you replaced your bottle with whatever item you needed, you would, prior to Hurricane Pike, you wouldn't be building an int item. Like, what other int item would TA buy? Like, maybe Manta, but even that is only like 15 int or whatever.
And using it also costs you mana.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 10 in.
And so TA, it used to be that like, oh, well, I got rid of bottle, so now I have all these mana problems, and I have to pray that our supports have mana boots, and that I'm an AOE, which I'm usually not because I'm frontlining. But now with Hurricane Pike, it's like, all right, like I have, let's see, how much int does it give? It gives me
It's 10, right?
10 int, yeah. So that's what 200 mana. So that's some extra mana to work with.
Like 130.
130. Oh yeah, 13 mana boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I always confuse the amount of mana you get per point and the amount of HP, because the HP is 20 and it used to be 19.
Yeah, what a world.
Yeah.
Let me make sure. Yeah, it's no, it's 12. It's 12 mana.
It's 12. Oh, I thought it was 13 because I remember Puppy had this whole 13 mana boy.
Yeah, because you have one int.
You have
one mana base or something like that. No, base mana is like 30 or something like that. Anyway, whatever.
But yeah, so
how low he put that person's in. Anyway.
Yeah, it gives you free Hurricane Pike. I mean, it gives you free int, even though you're building it for the other things, of course. And having the range is nice on top of Sideblades. Like, it makes you into like a real ranged hero, not like a pseudo ranged hero.
Yeah.
And then also, like, when you're using it, it's only 25 mana per cast. And if you have like a Slardar or a Bounty or something, then you can be hitting them from like a billion units away. So
yeah,
it's been really
thing is that it actually gives you the ability to like escape. There's that one time where you were like melded, and they were just like sitting on top of you trying to get you, and then you just like force staff, press your Q, and then you had like enough time because they were trying to catch up to you to not get through your entire refraction. You were able to blink out, and it was like, wow, Hurricane Pike, what a fucking item.
That was the play of my life. Honestly, I seriously thought of making a Twitch clips of that and like showing it off and putting it everywhere because I was so proud of myself.
Yeah. It's like go into chat yourself and like clip it.
Yeah. But yeah, so Hurricane Pike's really good because the other big thing about TA Hurricane Pike that I was noticing was in fights, a lot of times on TA, like I would blink in and you want to instant kill like either a really squishy core or like a support that's going to do things. So like in the one game that I'm remembering clearly, every fight I was saying, all right, I'm going to two-shot this Skywrath because he's a really low armor hero. He didn't build into Veil or any armor items if I recall correctly. So I would two-shot him every time. So my plan would be, all right, blink in, kill Skywrath, and then without Hurricane Pike, I'd have to like kind of figure my way out of the situation and like fight back into my team or go forward or what have you. But with Hurricane Pike, I can blink in, instant kill that Skywrath in 2 hits, and then either force staff to chase somebody, or if he gets away, if he is a force staff, I can Hurricane Pike to him, or I can just turn around and Hurricane Pike back to my team. I still have refraction charges up most of the time, depending on obviously the matchups and all that. And it just makes a mobile skirmishy hero that is predicated on doing huge amounts of damage in small instances of time into even more, or it makes her kiting even stronger and her ability to catch up to people even stronger.
Yeah, like
so
we all
I
know,
love it.
Anytime you talk about support, force blink is incredible, and if you can have all of the like the mobility and just like how obviously powerful going force blink is, and then have that on a core, and like not have it completely destroy your ability to be aggressive. Like obviously if like Slark goes force blink, he's probably never going to kill anyone. But if it's, like a TA with like a Dragonlance or, I don't know, what other cores can go like force blink? TA is really, or Dragonlance blink. Like TA is the only one that's really coming out to me.
Drow can do it. Although nowadays people don't do blink Drow as much because Hurricane Pike's so good.
Right.
You could do it on like,
I feel like TA is the only blink Dragonlance.
That's coming to mind, yeah. I actually played some Dragonlance Invoker games that were really fun. But in that case, you wouldn't build Blink on top of it. Yeah, nothing's really coming to mind. I've seen some Blink Luna games, and she's a natural Hurricane Pike builder.
I would not.
Yeah, I wouldn't build both. But
believe it or not.
Well, it was one of those games where she ended up building Ags and like did this kind of like magic damage, like skirmishy, like she had 2 other like physical damage cores. But yeah, no, I think you're right. She is, if not the only one, she's one of the select few that can do this, and also she can do it on a regular basis.
Yeah. So anyway, the idea of it all is being able to go blink force, but then like wrap it up into the Dragonlance, which keeps your offensive potential on a TA is like super cool.
Yeah, and she needs the early stats because like she's gonna rush a Desolator. So It's a
Yeah,
little
no.
like
The
yeah.
Ring of Aquila or Ring of Aquila or a wand is not going to take care of all of your strength and agi needs.
Yeah, and if you're one of those people that does the no blink builds on TA, where like you just build, some people do the drums thing, they just do like the move speed instead of blinking.
Yeah.
You can still build Hurricane Pike, and then that's like great also. So highly advised. I've been having tons of fun getting back to TA. Big fan. All right, so that's been my Wiki Dota. Really, it's just those few heroes. That's about it. Nothing too exciting for me. I'm trying to look back. Yeah, really nothing too exciting.
I tried to do I had a Spectre game where I was against like a shit ton of magic damage, and I tried to go
Blink
hood first.
Hurricane Pike.
No, not quite. I went a hood first instead of it was against like a tiny a Pudge and like a Zeus, and then their only physical damage was like a Jug who was spitting on me and like an aggro try and like a Windrunner. And I tried to go hood first, and it was awful. So don't go hood first on Spectre, even if they have a lot of magic damage.
Yeah. Wasn't there a pro player that was doing like, oh no, they're talking about OD. People were doing Veil Hood OD as like the first two items, and just doing like tempo control push builds, and like you get all the int from just punching people, so you don't need it from like stats from a different item. So they would do that before Hurricane Pike. Anyway, Hood's really good. It's super cheap now.
Hood is definitely good. I feel like Hood has finally got to the point where, like, if you're dealing with magical damage, you get Hood. If you're dealing with, like, you know, like a brief second where you need to, like, not get stunned and die, then BKB is good. Like, I feel like there's actually a delineation between the two items now. Instead of just, like, Hood is the BKB that doesn't stop everything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm a big fan of Hood, and it's very unexpected item, I find. Like people just don't expect their abilities to do so much less damage, and they're like, oh god, it messes up all their internal like mental math. All right, so
the best thing about it though is that like when you're trying to get it, your teammate can ask you where's the hood at.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the dream, honestly.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm gonna try to get hood soon, and then 2 minutes later they ping you, and they're like, where the hood at?
Yeah, and you know what will happen if they're not pinging you? They're non-communicative teammates. That's what they are. Those are the kind of people that will not say that. So
impressive.
That's our segment. Yeah, this was probably the worst segue I've ever had. So that's fine though, because you know we're a podcast. We don't specialize in segues or Dota 2. We just talk about whatever. So we're going to talk about non-communicative teammates today, both from Proud's recent experience having non-communicative teammates to my experience as a frequently non-communicative teammate, in unranked at least. So
if you told me more what was going on, I'd be able to understand you better and we wouldn't have these problems.
That's okay. I specialize in creating problems for myself and everybody around me. So let go. We're just going to have this awkward silence if you don't start talking about your non-communicative teammates.
Oh, was I supposed to go first?
Yeah, you're supposed to go first.
Okay. So recently I've had some games in the safe lane, not with like any specific human beings, but just kind of in general between my team games with my CSL team, specific instances playing with him, and then specific instances playing with other people where I felt like kills either could have been gotten or just situations could have basically changed entirely if I was like more aware of what was going through my teammates' minds. And I wanted to talk about not exactly how that's directly their fault or like what to do about that. And I guess I feel like you're kind of letting me out here, buddy.
I mean, that was the plan, right? Like on the Friday show, I like hearing your rapport with Roland because he's so not you. Like he's relatively new to your like sense of humor and your antics when we record shows.
Right.
But I've grown numb to it, so like I was committed, right? To like just leave you out on a limb. I'm a big fan of that mentality.
No, that's true. That is absolutely what just happened.
Yeah. So when you have non-communicative teammates, do you just like decide to play your own game, or do you try to like force communication? And of course this varies, like whether you're just in a pub solo queuing or like with a random stack of people versus if you're on ham or on your UCSC team for CSL. That was a team like I stood in for you. That was not We don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
But anyway, non-communicative teammates.
Yeah, so I feel like the best thing to do about so there's like a couple dimensions to this. One, there's like when you're trying to do something with them, but they're not communicative. Like I think there was one time that I mentioned to you earlier where we were going for a kill, and the person that I was going for a kill with didn't actually have a spell, but we kept going forward, and I didn't know. It looked like they had mana for a spell, but turns out they didn't, and we just ended up diving, and then we just like died, and it was like, yo, where was your spell? And they were like, I didn't have mana. I was like, then why the fuck were we diving? Like, I assumed that there was a thing. I thought there was a reason that we were doing this thing. But in an ideal world, that person would have said, oh, I have mana in 5 seconds for my spell. And I would say, oh shit, we don't have 5 seconds to fucking jerk off under their tower. We gotta go. But if you don't know one way or the other, you have to, and something isn't like, if he had a spell, probably would have just casted it. And I maybe could have just assumed, even though it looked like they had mana, maybe they didn't. But I feel like the correct decision is kind of like I always say, like, just get back and don't throw. And with non-communicative teammates, I think in pubs, that's definitely what I always err on. Like whenever I'm playing safe lane and my support is fighting an offlaner, I may glance over at best, but I will never sacrifice 1 CS to look at them. Because they have no ability to tell me whether or not this is a good fight or whatever. Like if they say something like, yo, come here, this is good, then, I'll look over and then I'll decide whether or not it's good for myself. But in general, if someone is not communicating anything to me, I won't dive for it. Like I won't hamstring myself, just on the hope that they're not communicating really good news. I'd rather operate, like, I'd rather play safe based on no information than play throwy based on no information.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
It definitely, like you said, it's definitely a very different dynamic when you know the people and you can say like, oh, like you can ask them questions compared to something that's just outright like completely non-communicative. Like I forget if I talked about this on our show or on a Wednesday show on stream or something, but like that's why in a lot of games I don't communicate via mic because so many people just play music and like they won't hear you and stuff like that. So communicating, there's a lot of like weird little layers to it if you have no knowledge of like if you're in solo queue or if you're in like a 2-stack with 3 randoms. So it definitely changes the communicational dynamic, I suppose. But I kind of am the completely opposite side of the spectrum on this one because if I'm playing solo ranked, I'm taking it very seriously and I have like no music on, no nothing, and I'm like ready and willing to communicate, though I almost never initiate communication playing solo queue. Because I just try to play my own game as best as I can, and I don't want to deal with other people so much. But
right.
if I'm an unranked, there's like a 10 to 20% chance I can actually hear my teammates, if that. And that's the extent of it because it's unranked and I'm just trying to like relax and have fun and listen to a podcast or listen to music or whatever. So that's where I become the non-communicative teammate, in full admission. But that being said, I still am completely there. I feel like there's a key difference between communicating and being communicative via like chat wheel or in-game chat and being communicative via mic. And I'm definitely very communicative via chat wheel, always, like without fail. I will always like, give the affirmative or the whoops or, the well playeds around. So I try to communicate, but, voice communication is it's a different bag altogether, I suppose. So I suppose I'm at fault. I suppose if we were playing in solo queue and we interact with each other, if somebody instigates communication, I will follow along with it and talk if it's ranked. But if it's unranked, I'm just like, please.
No, I mean, the point of this isn't to tell you how shit you are. I mean, you're already aware of that, right? So, I mean, I don't think that anyone's at fault for not communicating, especially in unranked. But I'm just saying, like, if you have that going on, whether it be people or... So, like, I guess kind of like my conclusion is I should... If people aren't communicating their spell cooldowns and, like, whether or not they can do things in general... I should treat it more like I do in like solo play, and either like just use my shit, and just if like we're gonna overlap stuns or whatever, that's I don't know,
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, or You know what? I honestly don't know. Like, there was one kill we were going for, where a lion started out with a hex, and I was expecting a stun to follow up. But like, normally you think if someone starts a CC chain, like the basic, I don't know, social contract is like, if you start your CC chain, I will not start mine until you are done. But that's not how it worked out. It was like they threw a stun and then like waited and it didn't happen. And I don't know if they were having issues getting theirs off. And I didn't know if I should like, because they have a cast time and they can be chasing someone and I can keep full vision. Whereas if they do it, the person might move out of sight. So I didn't know if like I should wait for them to get their spell off or if they would just follow until I did. It was very strange. But I think probably the best thing would have been for me to just like throw my shit. And not kind of worry about, whatever was going on. But yeah, I feel like if you have people not saying shit and being uncommunicative, just do your own thing, and typically err on the safe side. Overlapping stuns is safe, not stunning at all is not. Shit like that,
Yeah, and if you know the people, and like a lot of times, I know both of us, but more so you, but I've done this before. If I'm like in a 5-stack game, and even if I don't know the people and like people aren't communicating, you have to kind of like talk them into starting communication, if that makes sense, right? You have to be like, hey, I need to know, like when we were playing your CSL game, you were like, dude, like we need to know, like you need to speak the language that we speak over microphone. Like typing is not adequate. And once you say those kind of things, like you can get people communicating. So if you're in a stack or something and you're frustrated because somebody's not communicating, just like ask them to. And a lot of times people will. And if they won't, then it is what it is.
Then kick them.
Yeah, kick them. That's also an option. So I don't know. Communication is key at the end of the day. It is a team game, but you can't always have it, right? That's just the reality of the situation, I suppose.
Yeah. So. The one thing that's the worst is like if you're playing in a pub with and let's say you're safe lane and there's a support, you kind of need to understand where the people that you're playing with, like where their slant is going to be. Like a support is always, especially if it's a pub support that isn't like support or feed. Like if they're like a core player who just had to play support because you pick safe lane, their slant is almost always going to be aggressive. So you need to be able to like interpret them, not even parse them non-verbally, but just kind of understand them differently. This is kind of like a side point, not exactly to non-community teammates, but just like how to deal with, people that you're not completely unsure of how to like understand. But if you have a support in your lane and they're trying to be aggressive and you're not sure if it's good and they're not really telling you very clearly, just assume that they're being more aggressive than they ought to be and like play more defensive than maybe you ought to be. Like you ought to. It's kind of, that's my MMO. Just like play. Don't throw, man.
Yeah,
hold it there.
You can usually, especially in regards to supports that are not like directly communicating. I know I generally find that I can like feel out how certain players are going to be playing after like the first 5 to 10 minutes. Like after the first team fight, or like after the first fight, or after the first push or whatever, you can kind of feel it out and be like, okay, well this person saved his nuke so that he could steal the kill at the end of the fight. Like clearly that is going to be a recurring theme in this game, and then you can plan accordingly. So you have to kind of, I suppose it's like inference, right? You have to infer what you can if they're not directly communicating just through their play, which sometimes is hard, but a lot of times it's easier than you'd think it would be. Especially with supports. Like if the guy just never pulls, it's like, okay, well you can kind of figure out like, okay, well this person clearly does not play support, or like, oh, if they're making bad pulls, it's like, all right, clearly this person does not play support. So you can gain some knowledge that way, even if you can't gain knowledge directly from saying, oh, let's talk about it. All right, so anything else on non-communicative teammates before we hop into not hop into our game directly, but talk about what our game is going to be?
Yeah, I think that's really it. Just err on the side of caution. If people aren't communicating, don't put yourself out there. You can always back, and you can't always get a kill. So just go like that. If you're unsure, if you're unsure about what's going to happen, just go with the safe play.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. That's for sure. I imagine if Flub was on the show, he would have the opposite opinion, but that's okay because he's not here. All right, so for our combo this week, we're going to be doing something that we've done before, but we don't do often. I am going to be playing Mirana mid, But for our second hero, Proud is going to be playing some form of safe laner that is undecided as of yet. And we're only going to be talking about Mirana mid in this first part, and then we're going to talk about what his situational choice was in the second part. So we'll have some additional insight compared to just, brute forcing our way into a game and saying, hey, we're playing exactly this.
Yeah.
So on that note,
I had to play Wraith King because we haven't played it in a while. But they had Anti-Mage. Yeah, I remember that game.
Oh yeah, that was rough. Yeah, boy. But so that's gonna be that. So I guess I'll just talk about Mirana first. I talked about her a bit on the Wednesday show. If you listen to that, I've been playing her more recently as a mid player because I did not play this hero. I still only have I don't even know how many games I have in this hero. Not a lot though. I have less than 30. I know that because I'm not ranked on it. But I've been having a ton of fun. I will say that. I used to really dislike this hero because I'm not a skill shot player outside of Sunstrike.
Or a skilled player.
Well, that too, but that's a matter of discussion or a debate rather. But I'm not a fan of inconsistent things like Pudge and Mirana. I think I'm somewhat proud of myself after having thousands and thousands of games. I only have 15 Pudge games or something. So on that note, Mirana though nowadays as a core, she does a lot more than just throw arrows like she did as a support. So that's why I never played her as a support. But now as a core, she throws arrows, but you can throw them at creeps and get gold and XP instead of, throwing them at heroes and maybe hitting something and maybe not, and then, occasionally just wasting them.
Yeah, do you have an easier time with the stationary targets?
Definitely. Big fan of stationary targets. After I think it was when Flub played a Mirana game, back when he was our mid player, and you were correcting him, when you were talking about just and also me watching some pro Mirana play, the whole arrowing the range creep right from the get-go to guarantee that you have an XP advantage, assuming you can deny your range creep on the enemy, is a absolutely lane winning move in that one little instance. And it's the classic thing of there's no point in having mana regen if it's not active, right? So you may as well use your ability at the start. And then the other thing that I learned from watching a lot of pro Miranas is that they would just arrow virtually every single catapult that came to lane. And you just get all this influx of money and XP, and it's even if the enemy gets that also, you have the opportunity to take the upper hand by denying them, that kind of stuff. So I've been having a ball on Mirana. Even in losing games, the hero is just very satisfying to play, and I feel like I feel effective. I actually don't think I've lost a Mirana game yet, now that I'm looking at it.
Well, let's see what we can do.
Yeah, I played 4 games in the last 5 days or so. So yeah, in the last 5 days. So I've not lost one yet. I'm in a 4-game winning streak. But I used to think the hero was really boring because I was the hero just plays himself. All you do is you blink in and then you starfall and then you leap out and oh, okay, whatever. But the arrow dynamic, the leap dynamic, and starfall is also getting positioning yourself so that even though there is a creep wave, you can still get double starfall on the hero. Is there's a certain amount of talent to that.
It's kind of like tiny blink comboing.
Exactly. And so it's been a lot of fun. Honestly, I've just really enjoyed the hero, and I definitely feel as though I'm confident in her now, but I definitely want to play her a lot more to refine my skills, especially with arrow. And I'm just excited for it. Honestly, I've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things with her too. I mean, there's so many different builds that you can go, and then also I feel like the most underutilized aspect of the hero is the when you leap, the attack speed bonus it gives. The only time I ever see that really, really used. I mean, I don't study Mirana players too much. I'm sure Envy uses it a fuck ton because his Mirana is incredible. But if you're roshing or something, Mirana will be roshing with you, and then she'll leap out of the pit and then walk back in to give everyone attack speed and shit. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with Mirana.
Yeah, that's always something that I feel like people underestimate, especially the attack speed doubly, but even just the movement speed bonus for your entire team in that AoE is super effective. It's just great. Or actually, no, is it an AoE? It's not, right? It's not an aura. Is it an aura? I know it used to be an aura.
What?
Like it
I
used.
think it's. Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's
I know
that's
it
interesting.
definitely used to, but I'm looking at the tooltip right now on Dota Buff, and oh yeah, empowering allied units with the first. Okay, yeah, so it gives it to everybody around you. It's worded weirdly. Normally it'd say an AOE, but there's no AOE box. Anyway, yeah, it's super effective, and like the movement speed
Okay, I thought you
bonus.
were asking, like, does it stay around? Like, is it localized on Mirana the whole time, or
Yeah.
is it when you leap, just anyone around that area that you leapt has
Oh
that
yeah,
effect?
it's just where you leap, to my knowledge.
Okay, so it's not like I can like cast leap and then TP somewhere and then people are affected. It's just
Oh
like anyone near where I fucking kicked off the ground from.
no, no, it's just where you had that initial roar. Apparently, that's the in canon
Okay,
way that
okay.
you get the buff. But the movement speed bonus, like I mean, it goes 4, 8, 12, 16. Like 16% movement speed is a lot of movement speed.
That's an SNY.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're doing that on top of heroes that already may or may not have buffs, it makes all the difference in lane, honestly. So I'm trying to remember exactly what I talked about on the Wednesday show, so that I don't reiterate points talking about Mirana. But I've enjoyed a lot. You were talking about how her builds are fairly malleable. I found a build that I like where you just do the Wraithband bottle boots. Then you finish. Then you go Magic Wand because Magic Wand God item, or just Magic
Yep.
Stick if it's not a great wand game. Then you just finish Aki, and then you don't even upgrade your boots. You just go straight into Ags, and
Yep.
then you build BOTs pretty early. Other like a lot of people actually build Phase on her in the higher tiers of play, but it's kind of 50-50. Like some people either go Phase, and then other people just go straight Brown Boots Ags. I'm still
Yeah.
on the Brown Boots Ags train, but I could easily see the situation like matchup wise, like if you're against an Exort Invoker maybe, that you want phase boots just to normalize the difference in attack damage.
Yeah, I feel like it would kind of depend on the pace of the game, right? Like if
True.
it's not if an important fight is going to happen before you get your agonyms, spending 840 gold on phase boots is going to be way more important than like getting your staff of wizardry a little bit faster.
Yeah, and that's for sure. The other big thing about it is like, the Aghanim's just passively increases your GPM effectively speaking. So if you get it a minute faster, that means you have an extra minute's worth of like, let's say 200 gold per minute that you're gaining just from the Aghanims. So, and also as a magic damage nuke based ability, it's more effective in the early to mid game when people don't have
Yeah.
hoods and they don't have BKBs, etc. So I'm a big fan, honestly. Like everything about this year, I've just been having a lot of fun on. I
Yeah.
know the one thing that we were kind of talking about on the Wednesday show was I've enjoyed, and I've seen other in my research, I've seen some other people do it. Not most Maranas though. What they do is they get ult at 6, and then they don't get it at 11 and 16. They either get it after Leap and Starfall and Arrow are max. They get the second point at like 14, or they just get stats instead and then just get it like super late at like
Yeah.
24, 25.
I don't think I would get stats overskilling it at like 15 and 16, but
Yeah,
I
I'm on the
definitely think
fence.
I think there is. I mean, her all of her skills are so good. And point 0.5 seconds fade delay on Moonlight Shadow and the 20-second cooldown, they're good. But I think having more points in like Leap and Sacred Arrow are a bit better.
Yeah. I'm definitely in the camp that I would not get it. I would not get a second point before 14. I feel like that max excuse me. Max leap, max arrow, max starfall is way too useful. Other than that though, I just really like stats. Like having an extra couple stats in that early game, or not early game, in that mid game, like that can make the difference sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
But I feel like it's one of those things that's just up to player preference because I will say I've seen most of the high tier Morona players do get it at 6, 11, and 16, but still a not insignificant amount of players do not. So I don't know. Maybe it's like comp specific. It's like, oh well, I'm against a tiny, so maybe I need more stats to I could burst it, or
Yeah.
against a morphling, etc. So who
I will
knows?
say you have my seal of approval if you don't skill it at 11. But I've seen a lot of this is still a holdover from like Dota 1 Mirana. Like, don't skip your fucking ulti for fuck's sake, dude. Like, don't skip that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely. I've seen a few games of that, and it's a horror show.
Yeah, just if you're gonna play Mirana at 6, I mean, you can delay it to 8 if you want to. If you really need those 2 points in leap, like a lot of people view that as a value point. Like if you really want to be, 4, 1, 2 at 7, that's like I'll give you a pass. But like by 8, 8 is a long level. Levels are asymmetrical. 8 is a very long level. If you don't have Moonlight Shadow by 8, I'm coming for your fucking family.
Yeah. I agree. It is an important thing that especially a lot of newer players don't realize, because I don't think many of us look at charts to see like, oh, how much XP does it take per level? Like logically
You don't look
speaking,
at charts. You don't know shit.
yeah. If
I don't fuck with non-chart lookers. I'm gonna be straight with you.
non-chart lookers, it's definitely an interesting thing where in virtually every other game I've ever played, like you just know and assume that leveling is gradual, right? It's like level 1 takes 100 XP, level 2 takes 200, level 3 takes 300, for instance. And so in Dota, it's super weird where it's like, okay, well, sometimes it'll take like a ton of XP to get from 8 to 9, but it'll take a short time to get from 9 to 10. Then it'll take a while to get from 10 to, like, it just is nonsense.
Yeah,
so
like
that's
10,
something.
10 to 11 is like 600, but 8 to 9 is like 1,000, like that kind of shit.
So if you were not abreast to that information, you should look up a chart.
Looker.
Yeah. If you ain't a chart looker, become one, because charts are nice. So that's actually a really good point, though, is if you don't have ult by 8 on any of these heroes that like don't get levels in ult early, or have the opportunity to skip ult early, definitely consider that in your builds.
Just think of all the people that had to live before we had like graphics and shit on the internet, and they just had to like look through fucking like DOS and see text and not charts, and then just think about how blessed you are that you just have a chart you can look at. You don't need to fucking like read any information. Just look at the fucking chart. Look at the chart.
Okay, so that's Mirana. Also, actually, I already talked about the item build, right? But there is some malleability there, where like if you need a Deso, she can pick up a Deso, or if you need, a Diffusal Blade against an Omni, she can buy it. So the real key there is just like have a Blink Dagger and Aghanim Scepter and BOTs. Lincoln's I've been buying Lincoln's on her many times because it's perfect for that like blink and leap out thing. You will not get caught. E-Blade, of course, is solid.
I feel like E-Blade is definitely the like blink Ags 100%. Like those are the fucking realist. But similar to Manta on Juggernaut, it is very rare that you're going to make a Mirana build that doesn't take advantage of E-Blade.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about what you're going to be doing this game.
Last hitting.
Okay, last hitting. That's a good start. So so we have run Mirana before on team, obviously, and we have played her with, let's see, recently, I know Luna was the first one that comes to mind. What else have we played Mirana with?
I think we only played one.
No, well, I know I've played other games, maybe just non-team practice. Let's see, I played one with a Sven safe lane. This gets to our talk, what was it, last week or the week before, about dividing farm. Yeah. Generally, you want to play her like she can't take Ancients. I played her with LD also in like a tempo control push comp, where like you were hitting your peak right as I had Aghanims, and we just rushed people down, and you deal tons of physical damage, and I do tons of magic damage.
Yeah, that was we ran into that guy Pi, the AM, who was like, "Oh, I like your show."
Oh yeah, that guy was cool.
He was a chill gentleman.
The other time I played it was with the Venge safe lane. That was in a pub game.
That sounds interesting.
It was really good. Honestly, the Venge wrecked. They ran
good. I just have no courage.
Yeah, they had Venge. What was it? It was Venge, Pudge, safe lane, Timbersaw, off lane, Beastmaster, jungle, and we just like Pudge was good. And then we just roamed with like Beastmaster ult, Venge aura, or rather Beastmaster like Necro, Venge aura, and my Ags, and we just killed everything that moved. It was great. But yeah, so to get back to what kind of safe laners you play with a Mirana mid, it's all about safe laners that can take Ancients like Sven and Luna, and safe laners that deal physical damage, not magical damage. So you want like something like a Jug or an LD for that matter. So that can supply what you do not supply, right? If we get back to draft budgets.
Heavy physical damage, someone that's not going to fall off or will end the game before you fall off. Absolutely, like a hero like Lifestealer is pretty decent with it. Lifestealer very much single target. Mirana very much AOE. Lifestealer does the physical. Mirana does the AOE. And also I do like Lifestealer and Mirana together. I would probably pick that right now if it weren't for the fact that we played him like I think like 2 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
But just the idea that like you can combo with just like the Blink In, E Blade, Double Starstorm or whatever. And then if you have a Nyx infesting in, he can pop out to actually deal more magic damage, and then that's like actually like a viable, like a super, super viable infest bomb, honestly. I can't really think of anyone who does more blink in damage than a Mirana that's often thought of as an infest bomb target. Like there's Storm, sure, but Storm actually doesn't burst that quickly. It's like Storm comes in and then the infest bomb, and then like you stun him up or whatever. Like a Mirana infest bomb is just instant death.
Yeah, maybe Nyx. It depends, of course, who you're Nyx bombing. Or yeah, because situationally, if you're Nyx bombing like an OD, that's way more damage than a Mirana.
Yeah, okay,
would do.
that's fair. Yeah, but yeah, the Nyx bomb with the Mirana is like honestly pretty decent, and even just if like Lifestealer's trying to get a kill and then Mirana E blades, you can just like infest and pop out or something. Like the issue with most physical damage cores with E blade is that. If your teammate E-blades someone and it doesn't actually finish them off, you can't really do shit about it. But yeah. Lifestealer does have that nice finisher in his an infest that does like 400 damage at max level. It's like super respectable damage.
It's a honestly. Lot.
Yeah,
people never expect it either.
Dude, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
infest is wild.
So that's your list then? It'd be like Sven, Luna, Lifestealer, LD.
Luna's okay. Luna's not quite tanky enough, honestly.
Drow.
I like LD just for, like ending it. Drow is obviously good because it gives Mirana that physical damage that she kind of lacks. Like one of her main issues mid lane is she's against a hero like a Timbersaw or whatever. Like she's never going to be able to deal with that. Like no amount of her physical damage is ever going to harass that out. She's so low damage. But if you have a Drow, it like completely smooths that over. But yeah, and like PA is decent because she's pretty jumpy as well. You just need some tank somewhere else. And then I do like Faceless Void just because like he can scale so well and he is still so fighty. And obviously setting up eras after Chrono is incredible. But yeah, like someone who's super physical damage focused, ideally someone with a little bit of tank. Obviously Drow gets a pass because she's fucking Drow. But yeah, like Lifestealer. Juggernaut is okay, not fantastic though. I mean, Juggernaut's a great hero, but just in terms of the way the two heroes interact, not that great. But yeah, like PA, Lifestealer, I like Lone Druid, obviously. I feel like those are the special mentions. To be truthful with you, like those.
Cool.
Those few.
All right, so. Yep. On that note, we're gonna hop into the game. Of course, when we come back, we will find out what Proud played, and well, of course, what I played. Which I don't think anybody will be surprised of what I played.
Puck.
So,
is it Puck?
Yeah. I'm definitely not gonna really play Puck. I cannot play Puck. He's like maybe my worst mid laner. That's for certain. Anyway, you can watch the game.
Puck player. Skrunk's Puck is not good. I like that Skrunk Puck.
Skrunk's Puck is quite good. Flubs was passable, and mine is like every.
Oh, Vafa Puck.
When we go down the list, it gets worse. Vafa Puck was really good.
Puck's the real Puck.
Yeah. So on that note, you can watch both our perspectives of this upcoming game on youtube.com/.ptv1. That is our YouTube channel, and it should be a good time. And if it's not, you can watch us suffer. So it's a win-win for you, I suppose.
Hello, welcome to Dota 2. I am Thursday, and with me is Ursinity.
Hello. We are recommencing the podcast because we just finished our game, and it was a fun one. It was a long one. It took, what was the game? It was 61 minutes and 28 seconds. So
oh my God.
It was an event. Both of us were 7 slotted plus. So yeah. All right. So before we even get into the game, we'll list the comps. The enemy team had an off-lane Timbersaw, a safe lane Vengeful Spirit, CM, Drow, tri-lane, and then they had a mid-lane Storm Spirit, the classic Drow Storm Spirit garbage. And our team had an off-lane Night Stalker, a mid Mirana, a safe lane Sven, which is played by Proud, and Lion, played by some random guy that claimed to be 6k, and pretty clearly was not. And then there was a Jungle Axe, who was particularly effective because they just left him alone, and they were busy roaming and killing Night Stalker and killing me. So those are the comps. So before we even get into how the game went, other than the fact that we won, I will say that it was a good time. It was a wild ride. We had ups and downs. But let's talk about why you picked Sven in this particular game, just to kick it off.
All right, so my list of like acceptable heroes, obviously I said before, like Sven is very high up there. Lifestealer is good. Juggernaut's okay. Just really anyone who does like a good amount of physical damage. Like Luna's not too bad. So that's kind of like what I had as a base. And then the first kind of thing that made me think I wanted Sven was the CM and the Storm were both pretty like Sven centric to me. Our mid didn't have any lockdown for the Storm, of course, and I was like, okay, like Storm sometimes buys Lincolns, but then I can like AoE stun to deal with that. So the only way he's really gonna like avoid my lockdown is if he has a BKB. So I was like, having decent, like a Jug isn't going to do great against a Storm, but a Sven will do pretty decently. And then they had the Drow, so having like a lot of armor for our team. Drow's only going to do physical damage all game. They had Avenge too. That's also just going to buff their physical damage. So I said, we don't really have someone that's going to take Ancients too much. And then we had the Axe, so that wasn't too true. But I said Sven. We also had a Lion, and Sven Lion is a really strong dual lane. And we didn't really know what was going on with our pub, so it's always nice to have a safe dual lane and not kind of risk it a little bit with like a greedier pick. Like if we had Lion Luna, there's a chance that maybe they like aggro duel or something, and then that's super painful. But Sven Lion can kind of take care of everything. So I just kind of looked at the game. And I said, all right, we need lockdown. That's definitely something that we need. Lifestealer should against Storm. Sven's good, and he's still one of the big physical damage heroes. And then I just kind of went with it. And then they picked the Timbersaw, and I was like, damn, I should have gone with Jug. But yeah, I just had a few hero options, and I looked at like which hero would guarantee to have an impact, and it was Sven.
Yeah, it definitely. The Storm was our only problem for a good phase of the game. I was happy to pick Sven because if we had Jug, like that would have just been one less stun to stun the Storm up. So I will say, with my experience in this game, though eventually it ended up being fine. I ended up being 16, 5, and 31 because you just pick up like a billion assists on Mirana.
Yeah.
But in the early game, the fact that Drow Aura helps out the Storm made it so Storm just passively had like 15 more damage than me the entire time, and I had to buy my own tangos, so I didn't have the Fairy Fire Ironwood Branch 3 points.
Yep.
So it made last hitting incredibly difficult. Let's see, at 10 minutes. Let me actually pull up. Oh, it's actually not on Dota buff yet. The game hasn't fully loaded. But at 10 minutes, I probably only had like 30, if that.
Yeah.
So it was not fun. I will say that much. When it comes to
Mirana's already like shy of damage of almost every other mid hero in the game, and then you add in like give Drow advantage to the other guy, and it's pretty fucking difficult.
Yeah, and like you don't have Fairy Fire, so like it sounds like 3 damage from Fairy Fire and Branch really doesn't sound like that much, but when it comes to mid matchups, like that's the difference between like a few last hits easily in lane.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then and then 3 damage, and then it's also exaggerated by like Storm base has more damage than you, and then also the Drow's giving him like 6 damage at level 1. Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, you're down like 12 damage, whereas being down 9 damage is like remotely workable, but 12 is like holy shit.
Yeah, I also messed up my the whole arrow the range creep level 1, and I accidentally arrowed a melee creep, which I mean I forget if he denied it or not, but it was just one of those things where like the hitboxes on the units are not exactly correct. Like they go a little bit past the units. So I was trying to like really like split the wickets, but I could not do so.
Mistakes were made.
But obviously it ended up working out because we had, even though my lane went hard, and like also Venge and CM rotated and killed me once, and then they stayed in my lane for a bit, which was not fun. So Storm had a really easy time. And he definitely dominated that like early mid game portion. Right when he got his Bloodstone, I think he worked it up to like 17 or 18 charges. And then after that, we just chain killed him, and he was still always a problem, but not nearly the problem that he was in that early bit. Yeah, he had a 14-minute Bloodstone. So, but anyway, as the game progressed, once I had Ags, everything was kosher. But until then, I didn't get Ags until 23 minutes. Like normally, you want to get it at like 18 with the build I was doing. But it was rough. Anyway, to mitigate the drow advantage the Storm had, I ended up going phase boots, which was nice. I don't know if I would always go phase boots like I saw some people, but definitely in matchups like this where it was just like it was practically unplayable in the sense that like I can't compete for last hits when we're roughly similar mechanically and he has like 30 more damage than me. Yeah. Especially once it gets to like level 5 and level 7 and like Drow Aura is getting even worse. It's like how am I in like he has to really mess up for me to get last hits basically. And so the phase boots were very necessary.
If you don't go the phase boots, you're gonna get to a point where, let's say we're doing these like early mid game fights where the Drow first starts, you know, like Drow is 6 now, and there's supports and shit, and the Venge is just gonna outright click you if you don't have phase boots, and like that's not a reality that you can like be okay with.
Yeah. So, but I did really like phase boots honestly, and like the way generally the problem with phase boots on these heroes that go for BOTs at a fairly early point in the game, because either they build a lot of cheap items or they just don't really need the stats and stuff from phase or treads, like, you know, Morphling and even Luna to some extent, but Mirana's a good example. Thing was, I didn't feel slot starved because by the time I was getting rid of my bottle, I had enough stats and I had a Lincolns and Ags that gave me int, so it wasn't like that classic problem, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with TA, where when you get rid of your bottle, suddenly you just have mana problems all the time. So I may start going phase regularly, or like do one of those things where you keep it on your quick buy, and if you're about to die, you just buy the full phase boots instead of like saving for your Ags pieces. That might be the play, honestly.
What did you do about leveling your ulti? Did you like get it again at 11, or did you delay it?
I got it at let's see. I think I got it at 15-16 or 14-16. Let's look exactly because I don't remember. Yeah, I got it at 16 and 20.
Okay.
Because I remember I wanted stats to live through Storm jumping on me because I didn't have I didn't have Lincolns until a good while. So I got Lincolns at 34. But there was a good period of time. So I got Blink at 26 and Lincolns at 34. Actually, I think I got BOTs in the middle. That's why I was slow. But there were a few times where I died, and like if I had like a couple hundred more health, I would have lived. And that was like one of my big things where I just wanted stats. I also alternated. If you watch my VOD, it is not pretty when it comes to making arrows. I made a few good ones, but I missed a lot. The meme of that
game was just like every arrow just fucking like narrowly missed.
I mean, every arrow. Yeah, but the vast majority missed. I'll make no claims that I'm a great arrower, but the thing about it was, again, doing research on Mirana players, a lot of them do the like 1 to 2 points leap and then max arrow. But what I ended up doing was alternating. So I got a second point in a leap at 8, and then I got a second and third point in arrow at 9-10 because we had Axe, and Axe was jumping around, and so I would get arrows right off of Axe calls. And then I went back in for 2 more points in leap, and then I maxed arrow 13.
Right.
I don't know if I would. I'm unsure because just leap is so good once you have agonyms that I would change this. But maybe if I was like better at arrowing, I would just like max. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's hard because like arrow. I mean, it gains 90 damage a level, which is good, right? But it's not like the max damage bonus from the range is ever going to scale at all, right? So.
Yeah,
like percentage wise, if you're getting like really good long range arrows off, it's not like going too much and like way better. But I don't know. It's I'm never really sure how I feel about maxing arrow.
Yeah, I definitely still feel conflicted. I'll say that much. But leap, like it goes back to my like dislike of Mirana and Pudge in like their previous iterations, in that I don't like uncertainty, and putting points in arrow is like, okay, well, this is a long cooldown ability that I'm only going to use like once, maybe twice in a fight, and I could very easily miss one if not both. So that's like just skill points that may as well be in nothing in certain situations. So that's why I feel like putting those points in leap, it's like, all right, I can guarantee that I'm going to be getting, you know, move speed and attack speed and the ability to pounce away from stuff.
Do you want to go over the mechanics of like the blink pounce on Mirana real quick? Just 'cause,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure, you know, some people know it, but I'm sure there are people who don't play Mirana who are like, blink seems okay. Like, why is it on every game?
Yeah. All right. So basically the game plan, and this is something that I had to kind of like, it's almost like certain invoker combos where you know it like theoretically, but putting it in practice in fights, a lot of times you'll make the wrong decision. So basically the whole game plan with Mirana Ags is that you blink in, and you pop Starstorm and you have your Ag Starstorm, and then you
Why do
leap
you
out.
blink?
Oh, because if you blink, you can put yourself basically wherever you want because it's a longer range than leap. And you can put yourself like right either you can put yourself far on the side of one if you want to like really focus your double Starstorm on like some support or core. Otherwise, you just put yourself right in the middle, and then you're going to be hitting as many people as possible. Also, if you leap in, then they're going to stop your blink because they're going to hit you or have AoE or what have you. Then you can't blink out.
Right.
So it's a very like hit and run.
The other reason is your Ags is basically going to proc as soon as you walk into like as soon as they can hit something. So if you just walk up to them and try to get a Starstorm off, it's gonna like hit the creep wave that's in front of them or you know the support that's in front of them. So like if you actually want a Starstorm to hit their entire team, you have to if you just walk, it'll just trigger before you're there. But if you like blink in the middle of them, then it'll happen around you rather than just like at, you know, when you don't want it to.
Yeah, there is like a
on where it'll proc.
Yeah, absolutely. There is like a half second or so leeway you have between when it procs, but that is a really good thing to
still.
Yeah, there is a really good sorry. That's a really good thing to point out because you'll notice when you're farming lanes and stuff, if you just walk into the creep wave, it'll Starstorm only the melee creeps because it takes like a whatever it is, like a half a second, a quarter of a second to trigger the Aghanims mechanic. But it doesn't take long enough for you at normal movement speed. I don't know if it works with phase movement speed, but to get in a range to hit all the melees and the range creeps. So you have to either come in at an angle or like blink or leap in. So that it makes a difference.
Yeah, that's why you need blink on Mirana when you have Ags, so you can have at least some control over when your Ags based Starstorm is actually happening.
Yeah, I also one thing that I did this game that I've been doing on Mirana, but I don't do, and very few people do on few heroes. In that I went for BOTs 2, like at a point where I was not yet like 9 slotted. I got the BOTs 2 before my BKB, which was questionable to be honest, but I had Aegis at that point, so I was like, I need to spend money because I had buyback. But my whole game plan was Mirana is a great, like she can just be there and do things, so she doesn't need setup or anything. So we had a Night Stalker that was getting like picked off and picked on like constantly because he was off in other places, and so my idea was, all right, next time this guy's getting gone on, I can just BOT 2 to him, and then either Storm's going to run away from him, or Storm stays and then we kill her or him, or at worst again like he just runs away. And of course that was after E-Blade because like E-Blade, good item.
E-Blade is on just so solid for like the blink combo, and then it's like because I mean you go in and your Starstorm procs, but then it has like a half second before the stars actually fall from the sky, so you have time to like blink in, have your abilities happen, and then E-Blade them, and it's still all good.
Yeah. And you also, the annoying thing was CM had a Glimmer Cape. That was a big problem for our entire team, honestly. That item is quite good, it turns out. And also our Night Stalker never had a gem. Granted, he was dying a lot, so like we wouldn't have gotten a ton.
He would have just given it away, but I mean, he should have been playing in a way that, that gem would have been a good idea.
Even if he was going to lose it, like having it just for one push is value still. But, it is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, the Glimmer Cape was annoying because not only was she able to like kite us around and get ults off that she shouldn't have been, but it was mitigating a lot of my damage from Starstorm. So that was problematic. But yes, E-Blade is quite good. Even like past the obvious, nuking them with E-Blade and doing all that. The really nice thing is just like it gives you what, like 40 agi, 10 strength, 10 int.
Yeah,
and
it's
Mirana,
also like a solid right clicky item.
Exactly, and Mirana just picks up stats like between E-Blade and Aghanims, and like in this game I went Lincolns. We were also talking like I would have gone Butterfly potentially, either if I didn't need Lincolns or if I didn't need BKB. Like you can also fit a Desolator in there if you're doing some push comp. Like she has a lot of malleability past her core few items, so it was pretty sweet. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Talking about my Sven itemization a little bit. I went the standard. What I do is pretty classic, get whatever starting items, Stout Shield, Tanker Salve, all that shit. Mango, and then Brown Boots, Helm of the Dominator, Treads, and then I go Windlace after that, or Quelling first, of course. Quelling, then Brown Boots, then Helm of the Dominator, then Treads, and then I get the Windlace, and I feel like the Windlace is something I don't see a ton of other Svens do, but you have a pretty nice time where you can just sell your Stout Shield, get the Windlace, run through the jungle a good bit faster. The percent move speed off Warcry is like gonna be buffed off your Windlace too, which is great. And then just like get the ancient stacking, get your farm going, and then as soon as you can get the Echo Saber, go for that. Then the Blink, and then that game I went with BKB instead of Daedalus, because their only real hard stun was I guess they had Storm Spirit Pole, but it was mostly just the Vengeful Spirit. Like I could BKB out of any amount of damage that Timbersaw wanted to throw at me. I could BKB out of Frostbite that the CM was gonna do on me. I could BKB out of Drow Silence, all that stuff. So I just went with the BKB because I was playing really poorly and I just wanted to not throw. And then the Daedalus afterwards, and then I just got I just went like Moonshard. I didn't have a TP for a while, but the Storm Spirit picked up the Shivas, and I was like, if I trade out my Treads for Boots of Travel right now, right when Storm picked up a Shivas, like I'm never going to kill anything. So I just stayed with no TP, got the Moonshard, and then afterwards got Boots of Travel, then Monkey King Bar to deal with the Drows. Butterfly.
The most I think important thing to talk about is you built Heart. Right. So you replace HOD with Heart, and I see you do this most games on Sven, if not all of them that we play as a team. And this is something that I see a lot of Svens not do. I see a lot of them build Satanic. So talk about this.
Or some Svens just knock it at all. Okay, yeah. So Heart is 45 damage or 45 strength, and Sven is a hero that gets buffs off his strengths. That's what he does. He gets strengths, and then he kills everyone with it. So Heart's pretty fucking fantastic. He doesn't need the armor from Satanic. The heal off Satanic it just doesn't really work with Sven. It can work with a hero like PA or Luna, where if they're dying, there's a good chance they're still hitting someone. If you're dealing with Sven, like Sven has huge kiting problems. The only time he's ever dying is if he's not hitting anything. Like Satanic makes no fucking sense for this hero. So like the only time that you're really going to be able to plan around getting hits off is when you like blink in, stun, get 2 hits in, and then BKB. And like during that time, that's when they're running from you, not when you're low on health. So the Satanic active is never going to get you shit. And then by the time they are hitting you, that's when you're just like, drow slowed and fucking stunned up and shit. And then you just like die from 100 to 0. Heart of Tarrasque gives you some space for that 100 to 0. If they're backing off from you while your BKB is going, after the duration of the BKB, you can get back and like heal up. You're just so fucking tanky with your E and everything that there are a lot of times when, through my pure survivability, I will actually be able to just like walk away from a fight and heal up and go back into it. If you're sieging, like, Sven often, likes to do, you can just like hit towers or whatever, take a bunch of damage, walk back, heal up. Don't have to like, I need to find a creep to use my Satanic upon. Like, it's just, Satanic is just such a fucking shitty item on Sven. And it's like 25 strength versus 45. Like, that's some pretty fucking basic ass math. Yeah, it's not just... Sorry, go on.
45 strength, that equates to eventually 135 damage from between, like, if you're ult active
from the
and
bonus, plus the 45 on it.
Yeah. So 90 plus 45, 135.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's great.
Wait. How much is this?
Your ult gives 200% of your strength in additional damage.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, so it's 135 total, like, assuming you have max ults.
And that's a shit ton. Like, that's, like fucking half a rapier. Like, it's a fuck ton of damage. And it makes you so fucking, like, tanky. Like, God, the health on it, it's like, what, 1,000? How much health is it now?
250. Plus 45, so 1,350? No, 1,150?
Yeah, so it's like over 1,000 health now. It's like super fucking substantial, and the Satanic is hardly that, hardly like anywhere close to that. It's not actually anywhere close to that. It's like less than half. And then Satanic also like gives you like armor and shit as though that's something you fucking need. It's just it's awful. And this isn't like just my opinion. Like I remember there was some cast, and the casters were saying something about like, oh yeah, Sven will like get a Satanic here, and then I just saw like some tweet from Fear, and he's just like, yeah, you didn't think you go Heart? You didn't talk about Heart. And it was just like such an unnecessary comment, but it's just so like, ingrained in someone who plays a decent amount of Sven that like seeing someone go satanic instead of heart is just hurts your fucking soul so much that I know that Fear just had to speak out about this injustice. Like he doesn't speak up every time, you know, someone makes a wrong item call, but like when someone is not considering hard on Sven, like that's when you need to tell like friends don't let friends not go hard on Sven.
What do you think? All right, so at the end of the game, you ended up building an MKB to deal with Butterfly. If they had cores that you did not need an MKB about, what do you think about building 2 hearts? Because I've seen that on heroes that are named Sven and also heroes that are not named Sven, but primarily Sven.
For the meme factor, maybe
just tons of damage.
I feel like I really did need the attack speed. At that point, like if there was no Shivas, maybe. But you know what? Double heart might have been super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even satanic instead of a second heart there, but I'm not entirely certain.
Yeah, I mostly think about like Centaur does the double heart thing, and it's just so like impossible. Like it's one thing to be dealing. It's one thing to be dealing with a hero that has 3,000 health. It's a completely different ball game when you're dealing with somebody that has 4,000 health.
Yeah, like, maybe I would go Scotty over that because I feel like at that point maybe my armor was getting low. Like I just had my base armor, and I was having issues like holding on to people. Like my issue wasn't really damage. I think Abyssal honestly would have been better like for this general game. But I do like the idea of it. If they were more nuke focused. I think that'd be good, but like the only way that I really died was just when I was like getting kited out and Drow was just hitting me when like we were just fucking completely out of gas as a team, and I feel like health wouldn't have really dealt with that, but like lockdown would have. Like if I could stun, you know, the team and then also be able to stun CM like on the side, like that would have saved my life so many fights.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so any more comments before we hop out? I was pretty happy with this game, honestly. Like, I had a miserable laning phase, and also you did too, but
I just played horribly. Like it was like first game of the day and I've just been feeling kind of weird today. Like I woke up late and didn't, you know, do shit that I need to do. And I was just super fucking out of it in my game. Like my play was fucking horrendous, honestly. If you want to see like how fucking much someone who's like remotely decent at the game can just like play like utter shit just because they're feeling off, like watch that game from my perspective. It was fucking horrendous.
Yeah, I also was just like not only did I have a bad matchup, like not only like that matchup isn't that bad at like a basic level, but when you add Drow to any matchup, it's just like, okay, I've lost this matchup. But I also excuse me. Also, I was just missing like last hits that I should have gotten, or like the arrowing the range creep, like that's the most like linear thing, like in a literal sense that you can do. And I just like missed it somehow because I was just getting cocky and I was like, oh yes, and then the melee creep moves 1 second. So I feel you on that one, but I think we both warmed up and made some plays in the mid to late game.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I played pretty bad the entire way through. Anyway. It's one of those games where I was like, damn, I thought there was no way I could play this bad again for the rest of my life, and here I am.
Well, you know, we ended up winning, so it is what it is. And now you're all warmed up, I suppose. So that's the game, I suppose. You can, of course, watch our VODs on youtube.com/.ptv1. That's a numerical 1. We'll have both our perspectives up. And that'll be a good time to watch. I know this was a fun game. It is a long game, so you know you can skip around. I think also on YouTube you can change it and listen to things in like 1.5 times speed. I would advise doing that.
Like almost any video I watch now, like any informational video, 1.25.
Really? Oh, 1.25. That makes sense.
1.25 is the shit.
I listen to a lot of my podcasts in like 1.25 or 1.5, but I don't think I've ever actually used that YouTube function. I just know that it exists.
Yeah. I just like when people sound like chipmunks, so I just do it at all times.
That's fair. I mean, everybody's got their kinks, right? So you can watch us stream on twitch.tv/.ptv. We, of course, stream the in-houses on Wednesday nights. If you're listening to this on Thursday, well, they were yesterday, but I'm sure they were fun and you missed out. Actually, I believe our season is ending for this season because of Thanksgiving, and then we're going to be back with season 4 when we reconvene. So we'll keep you posted. If you follow us on like Twitter and everything, they'll be talking about it during the in-houses from this week that you can't watch because this is the Thursday show. But you know, you'll figure it out. The in-houses regardless are very fun, so show up to those if you can, or just watch. I know a lot of people just hang out and watch them. We also stream Hakuna Mirana Team Practice. I think I just said scream, but we also stream Hakuna Mirana Team Practice.
No, you said stream, buddy. I got you.
Good. I appreciate it. And that's always a lot of fun. That's Sundays, usually in the afternoon, EST. We play a lot of games. It's usually like 3 p.m. to like 10 p.m. with like a break in the middle to eat. So that's always a lot of fun. And then you can contact us on Twitter. I'm at Ursinity. Proud is at Proud Dota. Flub is at Flub Dota with 2 B's. The show is at .p_show. And our email is defenseofthepatients@gmail.com, and our subreddit is r/defenseofthepatients. These are all ways that you can get in touch with us.
Yes.
You can also give us feedback on our Sven play or our Mirana play, how we win drow matchups maybe, on our iTunes page, iTunes reviews. They help us a lot. It is a big help to us. It gives you a lot of visibility, so we appreciate that. And if you'd like to support the show monetarily, you can do so through our website, defenseofthepatients.com. You can click through our Amazon link. It costs you nothing, but it gives us a little cut, and that helps out support the show, pay for costs of hosting, etc. And then also on Patreon, patreon.com/defenseofthepatients. You can support us directly, and you can get rewards such as personalized replay reviews from any of the show hosts you so choose. You can also commission your own podcasts, and it's all a good time. And even if you don't want that stuff, we appreciate whatever you can give. So on that note, I think I did all the plugs.
If you are curious about any of the builds that we're going, you want something that you can, click on subscribe to, so it'll show up in game. .pbuild.tumblr.com has most of my builds up there now. If you want to know what I would build on a hero, you can message me on Discord or Twitter or whatever, and I'll make one for you. Sam also should be having his up there, but he's a piece of shit, so it's taking him a little bit longer.
It's so unintuitive, the Steam making
Dota 2 workshop or Dota2.com/
Please stop dispelling my excuses.
You literally Google Dota 2 builds, first fucking link. You make it, and then you hit publish, and then it's just fucking done. I'll even upload it for you. All you gotta do is just fucking hit link, and then you link it, and it's done.
Okay, I will do this then. I will commit to that.
It's so basic. And then if you want to, and then all you have to do is you just click the link on the fucking, there's a search bar, type in this fucking hero's name on the Tumblr, and then you just click on it. It'll bring you to the build. There's a big green button that says subscribe. Click on that. It'll show up in game. Super easy. If you want to know what we would build on a hero, just do that.
Yeah, I will commit. I will actually make some. I feel bad. I've been meaning to, but I just keep not doing it. And I will do it. By the time this show is up and posted, there will at least be a couple from me.
As your penance, I want us to do our own closeout song. So all I need from you is I need you to go bum bum bum, and then give it a couple seconds, and then keep doing that. Are you ready?
Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum.
Okay, you changed it up a little bit. That was good though.
No, I was just gonna keep rushing you, the frantic pace, kind of
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right.
It's kind of like how what channel is it? TBS. They play some shows in certain time slots at 1.1 speed,
like Seinfeld is sped up because they need more advertisements because the impending capitalist dystopia is now.
Exactly. So if you want to learn more about the impending capitalist dystopia, tune in to Theorycraft Thursday next week. Also, our other shows on this network. Why not? They're fun also.
My ear hurts. Dude, I had a cat on my lap the entire time. This was awesome.